Good afternoon. It's a few minutes after 3 o'clock on August 11th, and I am calling the Sagaponic Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so have members of the board had the opportunity to review the minutes with the minor corrections we just discussed?
Yes.
And do I have a motion to accept the minutes as so revised?
I'll make a motion.
I, in second, all in favor? Okay, so the minutes have been approved. We are going to render a decision on the matter of L. Mara Sagaponic Holdings LLC, the applicant for 53 Hedges Lane, application number 3 of 2023, seeking a rear yard setback variance. And the special circumstances surrounding this application are that it was recommended by the Architectural Historic Review Board in order to move the resulting dwelling to a location that did not overshadow or interfere with the appearance of an historic structure that is located on that site. I should also note that on the drawings and in the discussion, the dwelling to be built on that property is characterized as a guest house. That is because it is adjacent to another property in common ownership where the principal dwelling of the owner will be. However, for legal purposes, it is in fact a principal dwelling, which is required to be on the property. We have a decision, and the decision acknowledges the desire of the Architectural Historic Review Board and our own analysis that though alternatives were considered, including perhaps widening that structure in order to shorten the encroachment into the rear yard, it wouldn't gain significant benefit, and it might in fact impair the ultimate effect that was being sought, which is to remove that new dwelling from being right directly behind the historic structure. I also noted, and John Bennett said on the record, though it's not in the decision, that the only owner who would be adversely affected by that encroachment is the property to the south, and that is in common ownership.
He did send a letter in support of the.
Oh, they did send a letter.
Yes, he did.
Okay, excellent. I also note that there is no covenant or requirement that the properties remain in common ownership. In fact, they're held in different LLCs precisely to avoid merger of the two lots so that they can be sold separately. And it was understood that the purchaser of the rear property will be taking as is with the foreshortened rear yard setback in the property in front if they're sold separately. The only other comment I want to make is that we read the decision that we just got from our counsel, which based upon the things I just discussed, are granting the requested variance. But typically when we grant a variance in order to preserve, protect, or enhance an historic structure in the village, we also require the adoption of a declaration and covenants to protect the public view of that historic structure that's being protected. Given that this house that's being built on the property is pushed off to the side, it's highly unlikely that the front historic structure would be interfered with, but I have requested counsel to prepare such declaration, and it is proposed that the decision that you have received and read will be modified to condition the variance upon the property owner entering into covenants that the public view of the historic structure from Hedges Lane will be preserved and not obscured by foliage or fences or otherwise. Okay, and you're here to,
He's here for the next
I'm
one.
for the next one.
you're for the next one. Okay, so we don't have anyone
But I was
here.
here for that one, so I'm happy that you were directing it, and I understand. I think it's a good decision.
Okay, so I guess the applicant or his representative is not available, but we will,
Wait a second. I don't know.
John Bennett's not on.
There's a 516 number. Can you please identify yourself?
Right, well, I would give them the opportunity to speak up if they're here, but if they're not, then I'm
Here
here.
it is, Jay Dobbs.
Oh, Jay,
Yeah, we
Jay.
have Jay,
all
but
right.
there's a
Oh,
516 number as well.
All right, well, regardless, whether the applicant is here or represented or not, I am stating on the record and for the board that the decision that we will adopt today will contain such a requirement that there be, and Chris Bianco, our counsel, will draw it up and present it and attend to its execution. Okay, so all of that having been said, do I hear a motion to adopt the decision as so modified to protect the visibility of the historic structure?
I'll make
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by John, seconded by Dawn, and I think it's Richie, you're, no, okay. So we have 4 sitting in favor of the decision as so rendered, and Richard Thayer voting no. So it has passed. The second item on the agenda is rendering a decision with respect to MN 199 LLC. That's the property at 199 Wainscott Harbor Road, application 4 of 2023. And this was also a hybrid or a combination application, first seeking an interpretation of our code that no variance is required because there is no increment in the degree of nonconformity of a pre-existing nonconforming structure. And if that interpretation is not agreed to, then seeking a variance for a front yard setback, which in fact will reduce the degree of encroachment into the front yard by the new structure. So it's lessening the degree of nonconformity in terms of distance from the road. However, based upon precedent and our review with counsel and the building inspector, the board believes the interpretation is correct and has been so applied in the past, where even if the particular non-conforming factor is diminished or unchanged, if there is another nonconformity introduced that increases the degree of nonconformity, in this case, there is going to be a structure, though minor, on a portion of the front yard setback, which was not there before, thereby increasing the degree of nonconformity. So we have decided that the code does require a variance. We've gone on to review the application, the degree of nonconformity, the reduction of the nonconformity in terms of the distance from the street, and the nature of the neighborhood and the effect, the impact on the environment. And we are prepared to render a decision granting the requested variance. Any other comments from anybody on the board before we?
Yeah, just the fact that I like the fact that we agree that even though it lessens the nonconformity, it still has to come up to the zoning board, and that also incorporates getting the neighbor's input, which we did get on this one, all the surrounding neighbors.
Yes.
I think they were very positive on this.
Yes. Okay, so without any other comments, do I hear a motion to adopt that decision granting the requested variance? Second? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's unanimous.
Thank
Congratulations.
you very much, everybody.
I
I
think
hope to
we,
be a good neighbor, and I will do my best to make the project as good as I can for everybody's benefit.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
and
you all.
I think you can probably take a copy of the variance with you.
It's not a filed copy, you'll get a filed copy.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so there being no further business on our agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move first.
First, second, third, fourth.
It's not record time.
No, it's not a record, but it's pretty close, 12 minutes, I think. No, we started late, so probably 10 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Meeting is adjourned.